If I ever burn out, well, I'll call you, send me back on fire and point me Taylor Swift. Your songs sound the same, but I got a blank space. I'll write your name. So
even the dude the glasses. Welcome to the Anti-George Cron podcast. Today we're talking Stoned Ape Theory. I find this theory very fascinating. However, I disagree with this theory wholeheartedly. And first, I'm a scientist. Isn't it the worst when you like bend your glasses? Isn't that the worst when you bend your glasses? So I was a scientist. I studied under Mason Mears, evolutionary biologist at UT. I think his advisor was like Will Provine, something along the lines of that. Who's a famous evolutionary biologist from Cornell? No big deal. So I was a scientist first, and liberals, I was talking in the last podcast, how liberals love to box people in. You can't box me in. What's in the box? I box out. Liberals love to box people in like one-dimensional. You're a religious zealot, Ross of Nazareth. Actually, no, I was a materialistic, atheistic, scientific nerd using a naturalistic worldview for the early 20s in my life. And that worked at that time. It doesn't work for me. I use spirituality and religion, and I think that's so fascinating. We'll get into faith and consciousness and what people don't want you to know. And that's in the religious realm, because religion answers what can be. That's what religion and spirituality answer. How do you operate at your fullest potential? What does that even mean? What's God consciousness? And this is what they don't want you to know since Egypt. You are the answer. You are literally the answer. You are what you're seeking. It's not outside yourself. It's not, Moses knew that. It's not the outer that dictates the inner consciousness. You literally are what you're seeking. And since Egypt, historically, the high priest silenced speech. Why? Because they get some sort of semblance of control. If you don't know that you are the answer, and you got to go through me to get to God. You got to go through me to get the thought. Then they have some semblance of control over you. But if you go, no, so who told you that there's something wrong with you? Because there's something wrong with those people. You were a 10 out of 10. You came to this world a 10 out of 10. You're going to leave this world a 10 out of 10. And nothing changes in between. Truly, you are what you're seeking. You are the answer. It's always been like that. Looking within, that's the last place I'd ever look. I thought I had to go 1,000 yoga classes. No, you don't. That's called enlightenment. That's the sixth sense. In Buddhism, it's called thinking. You're not trying to see this podcast. You're not trying to listen to this podcast. It's just happening. And that's the thing about the brain. It just thinks. So since Egypt, people were trying to control your thoughts. But you control your thoughts. You are the answer. You're as close to God consciousness as anyone else. Boom. You don't have to skip to the end of the podcast. You don't have to pay me for a shout out. That's what the live killed me. Where people go, can you give me a shout out? Yeah, of course. I'm using my tongue. People that want money for that are sick. They are sick people. Everyone could be as cool as you in an RV, traveling, doing comedy, getting new audiences every night. I worked hard. Worked hard to do that. Yeah, it's pretty rad. It's pretty rad. So, back to the Stoned Ape Theory and why I think it's complete garbage. This is to give the devil its due. The Stoned Ape Theory is at least interesting, and it postulates, that's a cool word. Terrence McKenna, hold on one second, I'm recording this on doing multiple things. So, Terrence McKenna postulated that early bipedal hominids, which we are, that means just walking, we're human beings that walk, coming out of the grassy savannas in Africa, would flip over cow patties, and we would eat the cubensis mushrooms that grew on the cow patties. And those who would eat the cubensis mushrooms would digest the psilocybin, which is a powerful psychedelic. And what's a psychedelic experience? It's basically a variation of truth. There's multiple dimensions of truth. And when you eat psilocybin and other psychedelics, it brings you closer to this variation of truth, who we are. That's biology. How does the world go around? That's physics. What's the world made of? That's chemistry. And I was a materialistic scientist first. Religion answers what can be. Science answers what is. And what happened, Terrence says, is that once you ate the psilocybin, it would increase your visual acuity. You would hunt better. You would have more abstract thinking skills, which I don't agree with that part. But and then also you'd have sex. I love having sex at bed and breakfast, by the way. But yeah, they would have sex more because it would make you horny. It would make you sexually aroused. If you have visual acuity, everything's a little bit increased. You don't have to be full on tripping. You could eat a low dose of psilocybin, and you do feel lighter, happier. You kind of get down to brass tacks and go like, what's this human experience? How can we improve the conditions that we're in? And that's what kills me with politicians nowadays. Can you improve this place? Please? Can you change the fluorescent light bulbs in the public bathrooms at least? For a little public education reform? Come on! I have 10 minutes now on the public education reform could be solved by changing the dang light bulbs. Am I right or am I right, people? So, I don't buy this theory. However, it's very interesting because Homo erectus was the first bipedal hominid that left the grassy savannas. You don't see them still around. There's something very unique about human beings, consciousness itself. Look at Asian cultures and divergent evolution, and then you have geographically isolated cultures. They look different. Everyone's crying diversity. Asians look totally different than me, who's white, if you couldn't tell by the glaring albedo reflection in the camera. I'm white. And I came from a different area than Chinese people would say, and they have lactose intolerance. What does that mean? It's heavily spread throughout Asia, lactose intolerance, because they didn't cultivate dairy products like my ancestors did. So we literally have different enzymes in our digestive tract, which is an evolutionary trade-off, because I believe if you're lactose intolerant, you're less likely to develop some stomach cancers and things like that. Cool. What does this have to do with Stoned Ape Theory? Well, what it has to do with Stoned Ape Theory is that you would see this in you'd see some sort of variation if you're taking psychedelics. You'd see some sort of evolutionary variability with cubensis mushrooms, the psilocybin. Although a lot of things eat the mushrooms. I guess what I'm trying to say is, so if you're, damn, I lost my point. This happens sometimes. So the point I was trying to make is you can't eradicate a species fully, a population. Even in war, say we go to war, you don't eradicate the other population completely. We're very resilient. Populations are very resilient. You almost, like bacteria, whatever you can think of, you don't eliminate the population fully. So why would taking psilocybin mushrooms coming out of the savannas, we all moved around then. And you can't eradicate those who didn't take the mushrooms. So it doesn't even make sense from a logical point of view. It's just a very interesting theory. I'm going to get into consciousness now. So that's my point with the Stoned Ape Theory. If you agree, disagree, put it in if I mentioned anything that wasn't factually true, put it in the comments. I want to know. And I want to hear your side of it. But I don't believe the Stoned Ape Theory is true whatsoever. I think it's silly. Look, the Moses in the burning bush thing, everyone goes, it's DMT, man. No, it's not. And I'll get into that, but you ever dream? You ever think your grandma's a pickle? You ever think you have to beat up some cyberpunks and you can't throw punches right? And you're like, and then you're naked in high school? Yeah, I dream too. We all have DMT in our brains. What are you talking about? DMT burning. It's just such far leaps. What are you talking about? Burning bushes. He's smoking DMT. Do you even know what God said to Moses? It's that I am. What are you talking about? That I am is clearly God saying, I'm not definable. You can't define what I am, Moses. I'm not easily boxed in. I'm everything. And that's the choice you have, really. Is God everything or is God nothing? What's your choice to be? Do you have faith or not? Then you get into Jesus. And the 1/100th of the Bible called Sermon on the Mount in Matthew. Profound. If you read the Lord's Prayer and you break it down word by word, people just recite these prayers as if it's frippery nonsense. No, every word means something. Jesus was a wizard. He was a wizard. If you read the Lord's Prayer, every word has meaning. You can unpack that prayer for eternity. That's such a powerful prayer. And I would say if you have one prayer to go to, it would be the Lord's Prayer. 100%. And all right, so what is consciousness? What does this all mean? What is consciousness because even in evolutionary biology, you have the problem with consciousness, sexual selection. Why does a woman select a mate? Well, industriousness, hardworking. They pick these traits. They want to have successfully have progeny and fecundity that would be long lasting and maybe not be the most fast reproduction method. Maybe it's waiting. Maybe that's the most successful way to increase your odds of your baby surviving. I don't know. But the point is they select traits they believe will increase their baby's odds of survival and their odds of survival. And they don't like psychopaths. Although there's some psychopathic traits that are attractive, like being able to climb hierarchies very quickly and, defending your old lady if something happens. Like, you need to be tough. You can't be, people can't walk over you. And they find that attractive. And that's called consciousness. And that there's a lot of subconscious involved. I think it's more reptilian than people give credit to it, because I believe it's also a shame signaling thing. Someone loses a fight, or Jordan Peterson talks about the lobster hierarchy. If a lobster loses a fight, it's banished from the community hierarchy and it's less likely to reproduce. I believe that's actually, the lobster lost the fight. Cool. I don't think that's why, though. I think that there's a community aspect, and this is the abstract thinking theories I have around that. I think that there's a signal where we have a global harmonic energetic wavelength we attach to, and literally it's the community going, we're going to push this lobster out for now. We don't want it to be in this reproduction pool. And I think the community has a far bigger role than the individual does. However, what do you have control over? Obviously, you'd be a psychological loon if you said, it's the community's fault. No, you have individual choices, but even if you make your bed every day, some people the community will still reject. What's that about? Now we're getting into more of my realm, and that's the abstract thinking theory I've been working on for years. It's very interesting. I'm a stand-up comedian, but my first thing was science. So I wanted to just break down an interesting topic like Stoned Ape Theory, because that's interesting, man. Psychedelics. My first psychedelic experience, by the way, I was 16 years old. I got taped to my basement and on a pole, a duct tape. That was a younger brother. And my older brother, R.I.P., Mike Lum, R.I.P. too. They're both gone. They're both not here on this plane anymore. This spiritual plane, this physical realm. I'm sorry, they're in the spiritual plane. They're not in the physical material realm right now. It doesn't mean they're gone, right? So they duct taped me. It was 4th of July, and they stuck a quarter stick of dynamite to my chest and then duct taped that. So I'm stuck, tripping on shrooms for the first time, going, are they going to kill me? I passed out from an anxiety attack, and I was like, do shrooms really make people, kill people? I didn't know what to think. It was my first time on a psychedelic. Obviously they don't. Magical. But they put a really long fuse on it too, comedically long. And they lit the fuse. It was 4th of July. We were bad kids. We had quarter sticks of dynamite, just like any other kid in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Or I was in the mountains at that time, but in the Appalachians. But so what happened was when the fuse all the way hit the quarter stick, nothing happened because they emptied out the gunpowder before. That was still dangerous looking back. Something could have happened weird, but nothing happened. I'm still here, still kicking, as they say in those chiropractic videos. Still kicking. So hopefully this podcast, we're getting into stuff that I find interesting, and that's what this podcast is going to be about. It's about spirituality. It's about religion. And bridging the gaps between science and religion, because I think there's something there, and I have my own thoughts about this. You probably have your own thoughts about this. I believe it's all simpatico. I believe the 10 Commandments and thermodynamics, biology, chemistry. They're the same thing. They got invented by the Catholic Church in the 1400s. What makes the world go round? That's physics, baby. What's the world made of? That's chemistry, baby. What are we? That's biology, baby. This is what we're doing. And then what can be is religion and spirituality. So what is science. And you can't shake that right now, who we are in the present day. But also, what can't be answered by science. It has to be spirituality. It has to be religion. Where do we want to go? Can we improve this place? We're at 15 minutes. And I've been limiting my podcast to 15 minutes, so it's less work on myself, so I can do more comedy, baby. Do more stand-up. And love you. Go express what you are. Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Sarkaisi. Rawi observskoi. Hei val. Ne. La ne strombi i baby.
From the mountains